Are you also interested in which weather enhancements are made in Flight Simulator 2024? Then this is the video you're looking for. Let's first start the intro and then look into the details. So as promised, right? What are the details? What has changed in Flight Simulator 2024, specifically when looking at the weather? Well, let's have a look at the screenshots, because unfortunately I don't have any video coverage of this. So this is Mount Fuji, and here you can already see a lot of changes. First of all, if you look at the clouds, you can see different layers of clouds, right? You can see cloud layers, I would say, on the bottom of the mountain, but also on the top. And the good thing is that also if you would look at the clouds themselves, you can see that they are having more volume, which makes it also look more realistic. In addition to this, I would say Asobo and Microsoft announced that they've got cirrus clouds which are high above the menacing thunderheads, and several other things which make it more realistic. So a lot of new things for the clouds specifically. Now if you look at the, I would say, lightning on this picture, you can see that also there are a lot of changes over there. And that's being caused by the lightning engine, right? So the lightning engine, they reworked it completely, and they're using a lot of ray tracing techniques to make it more realistic, right? So which means that if you're flying during the day and then I would say sun goes down or up, they've got more smoother transitions which make it more realistic when you're flying, for example, during sunset. In addition to that, by making those changes, they will also introduce the photogrammic lightning. And that will ensure that all the light sources, from the blinding sun at high noon to the dim glow at a distant street light, look more realistic. And that's something which some of the third-party vendors jumped in, I would say, pretty quick. For example, I would say the night enhancement packages from several vendors. They were pretty popular because by default the lightning was not that good in Flight Simulator 2020. Then the next part, right? If you look at the, for example, say this picture, you can also see a lot of changes there, right? Because you can see that there are changes to the visibility, but also you can see fog, which makes it, again, more realistic. So what they did is they also give you the ability to create multiple layers of fog, because by default you can use the live weather, of course, but you also have the ability to create your own weather, right? That can be done prior to starting the flight, just like Flight Simulator 2020. You can make your changes and then make it the weather you would like to have. But in addition to that, there is some other cool news. Because think of this scenario, right? Normally you're likely working every day, and then when you're coming home, you might play Flight Simulator and then you missed a very critical weather event. Now with Flight Simulator 2024, there's a 24-hour cache, right? So you can go back 24 hours in time and then fly the weather which was active at that moment. So if there was, I would say, a heavy snowstorm, or if it was extremely hot, or maybe there was a tornado, because it's also introduced in Flight Simulator 2020, or 2024, I should say, then you will be able to experience that yourself when playing Flight Simulator, which makes it, again, pretty cool. So if you look at this picture, you can see the fog, right, on multiple levels, because I would say you've got the lower layers where you have less fog, then you've got a more increased fog, and then you see those nice, beautiful mountains, and on top of that, you can see the clouds. In addition to that, they also added some, let's say, weather phenomena, right? And one of them is the Aurora Borealis, right? Also known as the Northern Lights. If you haven't seen it yourself, then it's strongly recommended to do that. But if you don't have the budget or you don't have the time to go, then you can also play it soon in Flight Simulator 2024. The good thing about that is that it looks super cool, as you can see. But also the other thing is that, let's say, seasons have been introduced, right? So you can see seasonal changes. which are really reflecting the changing seasons. For example, if you fly during the winter with this nice aircraft, it could be that you can't fly that far compared to when you fly with the same aircraft on the same space. Uh, that's, I would say, logic, right? Because if you would try to do the same thing with an electrical car, also during winter, you can't drive that far compared to the summer periods. For glider pilots, right, that creates some other challenges. For example, in the summer conditions, they've got some more issues with the thermals. One thing which is good to know is about those tornadoes. Those tornadoes will currently be only available during, say, specific missions because they don't have a reliable data source to pull in the tornado information. Because sometimes tornadoes are coming very quickly and are also quickly gone, luckily. But they simply don't have the information yet. So they're currently looking for a very reliable system which would make it possible to do that. In addition to that, we of course have the wildfires. There's no picture of that, unfortunately, but the smog being caused by wildfires is different compared to normal smog. So if you're flying, for example, one of the firefighting missions, which is available in Flight Simulator 2024, then you will see that it's different compared to the normal fog which you would see when playing, for example, a normal mission where there is really fog, just like the previous picture. So what did they change more, right? So what did they change more? They made it more realistic to fly in wind, right? So they simulated the wind, which also results in turbulence. And turbulence is something which we, I would say, hear more and more. And it also makes it more realistic for you if you would experience it in Flight Simulator, which was not the case up till Flight Simulator 2024. So if you're flying too close to another aircraft, or if you're having a lot of wind during landing or takeoff, then you will now start to feel it in Flight Simulator 2024, which will make it again very cool. Also, the water physics have also been improved, which makes it more realistic if for water spray effects, right? So when taking off or landing on the water, you will also see changes there. Then this last picture, again, a really beautiful picture where you can see multiple levels of clouds, but also, let's say, it looks like some fog is over there, which makes it again pretty cool. So what has changed from, let's say, technical perspective, right? Because we're now talking a lot about, okay, hey, what you see. Well, on the, or say under the hood, they made some very nice changes, and one of them is the multi-threaded processing for weather effects. So currently, it looks like it's bound to one CPU core, which we all know is, I would say, sometimes a big issue, especially with Flight Simulator 2020. You can see that some of the cores are really hammered, or one of the cores is really hammered. Now they moved the weather system to a multi-threaded processing, which should, let's say, kind of minimize the impact on the overall Flight Simulator performance, which is of course very good to know. And scalable effects maintain also performance on lower end systems. So if you've got a lower end system, it will be less impacted compared to how it is with Flight Simulator 2020. What are other things which you need to be aware of? Well, the flight planner, right? You currently already can change the weather. You can switch off that live weather option and then change the weather which you would like to do. But a change in Flight Simulator 2024 will be that you've got a detailed pre-flight weather briefings, right? So they simply give you a description about the weather you can expect during your flight, because that's also what normal pilots do, right? They check the weather to make, I would say, sometimes do a little bit of detour because they want to fly around some systems. And that's now also possible in Flight Simulator 2024 because it's pulling the weather again from that cloud-based architecture which they have. And they say it's much faster, much more realistic because in some scenarios, if you're flying in Flight Simulator 2020, you can see that if you're looking outside, it's, I would say, raining. And then, for example, when you fly at the same spot, when using Flight Simulator 2020, it still is dry. So more realistic weather, more accurate weather, but also a lot of cool techniques have been introduced by Microsoft and Asobo in Flight Simulator 2024. And with that, we're at the end of the video where we looked at several details or talked more about several details which will be included in the weather system for Flight Simulator 2024. I want to thank you for watching this video. Unfortunately, only I would say a few images, also not a lot. So sorry for that. I hope you found my story interesting about what's coming. And I'm hoping that you also are so enthusiastic as me for Flight Simulator 2024. I really can't wait for it. Again, here is this video. I hope you liked it. Make sure to look at my channel for other videos about Flight Simulator 2024 because I will post some new ones really soon. Again, thanks for watching and I wish you happy flying.